There is a moment that happens in Petco Park that no camera fully captures. It is not the swing. It is not the pitch. It is not even the moment the ball leaves the bat and disappears into the California night sky like it was never meant to stay on the ground in the first place. It is the moment before all of that. It is the moment Shohei Ohtani walks to the plate. The crowd shifts. The energy in the stadium, which had been loud, competitive, charged with the specific intensity of a divisional rivalry between two teams fighting for first place, changes its character entirely. It does not get quieter. It gets different. It becomes something closer to anticipation than noise. Something closer to held breath than cheering. And in the San Diego Padres dugout, among a roster that includes some of the most talented and mentally tough players in all of baseball, something happens too. They panic. Not visibly. Not dramatically. These are professionals. These are men who have spent their entire lives being the most intimidating presence in every room they have ever walked into. Fernando Tatis Jr., one of the most electric players in the sport, a man whose personality alone could fill a stadium, does not show panic on his face. Manny Machado, a player whose composure under pressure has defined a decade-long career at the highest level, does not let it reach his expression. But it is there. And they have acknowledged it. Quietly, carefully, in the way that elite competitors acknowledge the one thing in their world that genuinely unsettles them. Shohei Ohtani's presence on a baseball field is not normal. And the 2025 NL West race has become the stage where that truth is being demonstrated with a force that is shaking one of the most talented rosters in the National League to its foundation. The Padres came into this season with legitimate first-place ambitions. The pieces were in place. The talent was undeniable. The expectations were real. Then number 17 showed up in Dodger blue. And everything changed. When a Padres insider described the experience of playing against the Dodgers in 2025 as looking into the stands and seeing all blue number 17s, it was not a compliment offered casually. It was a description of something that has become a genuine competitive factor in the NL West race. The Ohtani effect on stadium atmosphere is measurable. When the Dodgers travel to Petco Park, the demographic breakdown of the crowd is different than it is for any other visiting team. Ohtani fans, Japanese fans who have traveled specifically to see him play, local fans who follow him across the division, casual baseball observers who show up simply because they feel they are watching something historically significant, arrive in a blue wave that transforms the visual character of an opposing team's home stadium. This is not a small thing. Home field advantage in baseball is real and documented. The familiarity of the environment, the crowd noise supporting your team's rallies and pressuring opposing pitchers, the psychological comfort of playing in front of your own fans, these are genuine competitive factors that teams invest in protecting. Ohtani strips that advantage away. Not completely. But meaningfully. When the Padres look into their own stands and see a sea of Dodger blue centered on number 17, something subtle but significant shifts in the competitive dynamic. The stadium no longer feels entirely theirs. And this is before Ohtani has done anything on the field. The fact that Tatis and Machado, two players who are themselves among the most celebrated and marketable in the sport, two players who are accustomed to being the gravitational center of any baseball environment they inhabit, have acknowledged the particular weight of Ohtani's presence speaks to something that goes beyond statistics or scouting reports. It speaks to an aura. And in 2025, that aura has become one of the defining forces in the National League West. To understand why the Padres are responding to Ohtani the way they are, you have to understand the stakes of the 2025 NL West race. San Diego came into this season with a roster built for contention. Their lineup, anchored by Tatis and Machado, represents one of the most potent offensive combinations in the National League. Their pitching staff was assembled with postseason baseball in mind. The front office made moves in the offseason with the explicit intention of competing for a division title. This is not a rebuilding team. This is not a team playing for the future. This is a team that came to win now. And the Dodgers, led by Ohtani, are making that extraordinarily difficult. What the 0.73 ERA means in the context of a divisional race is different from what it means as an abstract statistical achievement. In the abstract, it is remarkable. In the context of a tight pennant race between two teams separated by a handful of games in the standings, it is crushing. Every time Ohtani takes the mound against San Diego, the Padres are not simply facing a good pitcher. They are facing the most statistically dominant pitching performance of the 2025 season, from a man who will then, in his next series appearance, be one of the most dangerous hitters in their opposing lineup. There is no rest. There is no series against the Dodgers where San Diego's pitchers can say, "Tonight we don't have to worry about the big bat." There is no series where their hitters can say, "Tonight the pitcher on the mound is manageable." Ohtani occupies both sides of that equation simultaneously. This is what the panic is rooted in. Not fear, exactly. These are elite competitors. Fear is not the right word for what they experience. It is something more like the recognition that the math of a divisional race becomes significantly harder when one player on the opposing roster is doing what Ohtani is doing in 2025. The acknowledgement from Tatis and Machado of Ohtani's otherworldly presence carries a specific weight that deserves careful attention. Fernando Tatis Jr. is not a player who is easily impressed. He came into the major leagues as one of the most hyped prospects in a generation and immediately validated every expectation. His athleticism, his flair, his competitive intensity, these are qualities that have defined him as one of the signature personalities of his era in baseball. He does not shrink from big moments. He runs toward them. When a player of that profile acknowledges that facing Ohtani, or sharing a baseball field with Ohtani, produces a feeling that is qualitatively different from anything else in the sport, that acknowledgement means something. Manny Machado's perspective carries a different but equally significant weight. Machado is a veteran whose career stretches back more than a decade at the highest level of the game. He has faced the best pitchers of his era. He has competed in playoff baseball, in pennant races, in games where the weight of an entire city's expectations sat on each at-bat. His emotional baseline in competitive situations is extraordinarily stable. And yet, Machado has spoken in terms that convey a genuine recognition that Ohtani represents something outside the normal spectrum of baseball experience. Not just a great player. Something more. Something that requires a different kind of mental preparation to face. Something that changes the atmosphere of a game simply by being present in it. What both of these players are describing, in their different ways, is the same phenomenon, the presence of a player who has transcended the ordinary categories of baseball greatness and now exists in a space that the sport has no well-worn language to describe. That space is where Ohtani lives in 2025. Aura in sports is often discussed as though it is magical. As though certain athletes simply arrive in the world preloaded with a quality that intimidates opponents and elevates teammates, independent of anything specific they have done or continue to do. With Ohtani, the reality is both more grounded and more extraordinary than that. His presence on a baseball field in 2025 is the cumulative product of everything he has built. The years of preparation. The physical transformation. The evolution of his pitching arsenal. The relentless refinement of his approach at the plate. The discipline that governs how he treats every hour of every day in a baseball season. None of this is invisible to the players who compete against him. It communicates itself through the results. And the results, accumulated over time, create the atmosphere. When Ohtani walks to the plate, opposing pitchers are not responding to an abstraction. They are responding to everything they know about what he has done to pitchers who have faced him. Every home run in the database. Every pitch they have watched him read and destroy. Every moment where the best executed pitch in a pitcher's arsenal met Ohtani's bat and ended up somewhere embarrassing. When Ohtani takes the mound, opposing hitters are not responding to mythology. They are responding to the 0.73 ERA. To the swing and miss rates. To the specific memory of watching the sweeper break out of the zone at a moment too late to adjust. To the empirical, documented, undeniable evidence that this pitcher is currently operating at a level that the history of the sport struggles to place in context. The presence is real. But it is built on substance. And that is precisely what makes it so durable, so impossible to simply decide to ignore. The question that San Diego's coaching staff faces when they prepare for a series against the Dodgers is not a simple one. Every team in baseball game plans against Ohtani. They study footage. They analyze pitch sequences. They identify tendencies. They build plans designed to give their hitters the best possible chance against his arsenal and give their pitchers the best possible approach to navigating his at-bats. And then the game starts. And the plan, however carefully constructed, collides with the reality of what Ohtani actually is in 2025. The analytical challenge is genuine. As a pitcher, his arsenal has evolved in ways that make prior data less reliable as a predictor of current behavior. The pitch movement profiles have shifted. The sequencing has become more sophisticated. The hitter who successfully read his sweeper in a game 6 weeks ago is facing a pitcher who has already incorporated adjustments that change what that pitch does and when it appears in a count sequence. As a hitter, the challenge for opposing pitchers is the breadth of what he can damage. Pitchers who try to work him away find that his plate coverage punishes that approach. Pitchers who challenge him inside discover that his bat speed and power generation make that an equally dangerous strategy. There is no comfortable zone. There is no approach that a pitching staff has identified in 2025 that consistently produces weak contact against Ohtani. The Padres pitching staff is talented. Their preparation is serious and professional. And they are still, game after game, series after series, running into the same wall that every other team in baseball is running into. Ohtani has no reliable weakness at the plate in 2025. And on the mound, he is giving opposing offenses almost nothing to build on. This is the dilemma the Padres are living inside as they fight to maintain their position in the NL West standings. The standings tell one version of the story. But the story beneath the standings, the story of how a divisional race actually feels from the inside, is where the true picture of the 2025 NL West emerges. San Diego is a legitimate contender. Their talent is real. Their ambition is real. Their ability to compete on any given night against any opponent in baseball is not in question. This is a roster built by people who understand what it takes to win at the highest level. But the presence of Ohtani in Dodger blue has introduced a variable into this pennant race that no amount of preparation or talent can fully neutralize. Every series against Los Angeles carries the specific weight of having to contain a player who is, in 2025, performing at a level that places him among the most dominant individual seasons in the history of the sport. Every game Ohtani pitches against the Padres is a game where San Diego's offense is facing the best version of the best pitcher in baseball right now. Every game Ohtani appears in the lineup against San Diego is a game where their pitching staff is navigating one of the most dangerous at-bats in the National League. Tatis and Machado can hit. They can lead. They can inspire their teammates and impose their will on opposing pitchers and make the Padres into everything a contending team needs to be. But they have acknowledged, in the careful, measured way that great competitors acknowledge the things that genuinely unsettle them, that number 17 in Dodger blue is something different. When the Padres look into the stands at Petco Park and see the blue number 17s filling sections that should belong to their own fans, they are seeing something that no other player in baseball produces at that scale in an opposing stadium. They are seeing the physical manifestation of what Ohtani has built. Not just a fan base. A movement. A level of connection between a player and the people who follow him that crosses every boundary, national, cultural, generational, and lands with the same overwhelming force in San Diego as it does in Los Angeles, in Tokyo, in living rooms and sports bars and stadium seats across the world. The panic the Padres feel is real. The acknowledgement from Tatis and Machado is real. The 0.73 ERA is real. The sea of blue number 17s in their home stadium is real. All of it points to the same truth. In 2025, Shohei Ohtani is not just the best player in baseball. He is something the sport has never produced before. And the NL West race, as fierce and talented and genuinely competitive as it is being played out in the shadow of that truth. The Padres are fighting for first place. They have the talent, the roster, and the will to do it. But number 17 is in the way. And right now, nobody in baseball has figured out what to do about that.